I have 4 articles here that I would like to connect together. The first one is anti-terrorism bills expected to pass quickly. This is from the Globe and Mail. Okay. Side story: new terror law to let police seize passports. Okay, I'll just read you the first little part. It's pretty illustrative of the whole thing. New powers to monitor and arrest suspects in terrorism cases will be made public, hopefully soon, Public Safety Minister Stephen Blaney said, part of the Conservative government's push to give police and spy agencies greater authority whilst requiring less evidence in counter-terrorism investigations. Okay. New terror law to let police seize passports. The British government said Monday that it would introduce legislation giving the police the power to seize the passports of British and foreign nationals suspected of travelling to participate in terror-related activities, and will make it easier for security services to track suspects online. The legislation would also make it illegal for British insurance companies to reimburse anyone who provides ransom payments to free hostages. Okay. Ottawa prepares to strengthen preventative policing powers. Again, this is the Star, sorry. The Canadian government is expected to lower the threshold for preventative arrests and restrict the movements of alleged radicals as part of legislation to fight terrorism. Ottawa is also looking to revise the Passenger Protect system to make it easier to keep individuals from boarding planes. And the last story is Kenyan police resort to tear gas to disperse school kids' protest. And there they are, dispersing school children with tear gas. So why are all these 4 stories connected? It's because of the horrifying response to terrorism by our governments that I am witnessing today. Now, I'm going to give you a little bit of a background because my history is being post-Second World War, born in 1953. Of course, there was still a lot of war stories going around as a child growing up, and the underground movement, these were, well, basically common people who had got together in a group and were fighting for the Allies, but underground, as you can imagine by the name. And what they did was basically anything to disrupt the enemy, which was taking up rails, stopping cars, landmines, whatever they could do to disrupt the enemy, that's what they were to do. Now these people, when I grew up, these people were our heroes, okay, because they fought against a common enemy on our behalf and with us. They were from us, they were part of the people. So I'm sure that if you pull this into modern times, Hitler would have called the underground movement his terrorists, and yet they were our heroes. So this gives you a bit of a notion of all of a sudden how complicated it becomes. So when you see stuff like this, well, let's define terrorist. I would like to see that before we're leaping into all of these laws, let's define the word terrorist. Okay, so another part of my background is that I went through the IRA campaign, and this was basically random parcel, letter, and basically there'd be bags with bombs in them left lying around just about anywhere. Now, this was quite horrific. I don't know if you can imagine this, but they would run along to a pub and they would just throw a bomb in through the door and run off. Virtually impossible to detect. The devastation was huge. The bomb would be filled with nails. The injuries would be absolutely horrific, and you never knew from Scotland to Land's End where these attacks were going to happen. Okay, there was the Baader Meinhof, was a terrorist group. There was the Red Brigade. There was the Moluccan terrorists. I bet you every 6 weeks or every 2 months there was a plane on the tarmac somewhere around the world who had hostages being held in exchange for prisoners in some other part of the world. So I'm no stranger to terrorism. You know, I've been through a lot of this stuff. Okay, what is different? What is different this time is our response to terrorism. And our response to terrorism has been basically to suppress the people who can help you the most, and that is your local residents, your own population. This is how Britain solved the problem of the IRA. We all became eyes and ears looking for bombs, anything unusual. We weren't told to run and hide. We were told to go about our business as usual. And this is how we defeated that problem. We faced up to it square on. Now what we're doing right now is we are playing right into the hands of the terrorists by restricting the very rights, that we have fought long and hard for, that Stephen Harper so effusively brags about when he goes abroad. The democracy of Canada, worth defending. So why are we losing our rights? And the problem is with all of this, and you see, when you say define terrorists, I can guarantee all of you, you can walk down the street, any one of you, just try this, walk down the street, stop a person and say, when I say the word radical or radicalized, what comes to your mind? And I will guarantee it's going to be Muslim, Islam, ISIS, IS, ISIL, whatever. Okay, we're connecting that word with terrorism, radicalization. Well, what about the natives that were blocking the fracking in New Brunswick? They were called eco-terrorists. Okay, the moms and dads down in Dimmock in Pennsylvania, who lobbied the council because the fracking company had gone in and destroyed their entire water table. There was nothing left to drink, no water left to drink. They went to the council, Homeland Security came in, labelled all of these people eco-terrorists. Let me give you a scenario. I like what-if scenarios because, you know, well, they're just what-ifs, right? So what if hydro from my last video goes even higher? Because of that, food bills go even higher. Your taxes go up because infrastructure is collapsing and council cannot afford to bear the burden and can't borrow money anymore from anywhere else, so taxation is their only resort. You know as well as I do that we're going to form some kind of ratepayers association to lobby on behalf of the residents that this should not take place. Are we radicalized? Answer me that question. Are we radicalized? Are we then the terrorists? We're questioning government. When we're doing that, when we're acting, it's an act of civil disobedience is what it's called, and we are questioning the authority of the government to impose taxes upon us. Under Stephen Harper's definition of terrorist, you are a terrorist by doing that, by acting like that. And you are subject to arrest without warrant, detention without possibility of getting out, and trial without access to a lawyer or habeas corpus. This is why we have to be extremely careful with these words. We have to describe what is a radical, what isn't a radical, what are we going to consider a radical? Somebody who protests a pipeline, an oil spill after an oil spill, devastated a river? Is that a radicalization, a radical group? We need to answer these questions. These words are very important because the way the legislation is written, these bills that are passing, these contain words that are so broad, terms that are so broad, they could be labelled with anything. I'm extremely concerned. I'm extremely concerned by this very, very dark turn of events, and it is dark. You know, I would even go as far as to say this is feeling like 1935 Germany. Okay? We've just been through the anniversary. We've just been through the anniversary. Okay? Pay homage to Auschwitz. Well, this is exactly what happened in 1935. The Reichstag caught fire. Hitler declared it was the socialist terrorists that were the problem, and he made himself a dictator, and the rest, as we know, is history. Now, I would suggest you look that up in Wikipedia. When I read that story, I could not believe how easily he stepped into power. And we're seeing this in North America right now. This loss of rights, this loss of access to the courts, this loss of access to justice. Oh yeah, sure, you can have a class action suit, but it's going to cost you $500,000 to start. So where have we got $500,000 to fight the court system that we already paid for with our taxes? The court system and the justice system that's referred to in your constitution that we allow to have access. That's why we pay our taxes, to maintain a court and justice system, so that should we get into any kind of conflict with another person, another entity, corporation, or with the government itself, we have recourse to justice. And yet it's financially put out of our reach because you have to have a high-priced lawyer. If you go in self-represented as I did, it's going to be very, very tenuous. And as I said, class action, $500,000 just to start. This is pricing justice out of the hands of the common person, the bill payer. We're the bill payer. We are in charge. So we need to think about these words and what we're allowing our governments to define as a terrorist, as a radicalized individual, as a radical group. I read the other day that charities are complaining that it is the ones that disagree with the government are the ones that are continually being audited and again being financially put out of business just because the government happens to not want to hear a dissenting voice. Well, to me, that's what democracy is all about. That is what individuality is all about. This is what my father and my grandfather and my great-grandfather fought for, and you can go all the way back to 1208, the signing of the Magna Carta. There has been a long trail of bodies who have defended that document. And here we are getting it frittered and wasted away over what? And so if we do need these laws, again, they need to be defined more broadly than they are. I mean, I can assure you that as much as the fear-mongering that's going around, and as much as any death has been just absolutely horrific to hear about or to witness, and I realize, and everyone realizes, the huge impact that has on an individual family. And I find it kind of ironical, you know, that this young, brave soldier, Cirillo, was standing in front of the tomb of the unknown soldier. And what did the unknown soldier fight for? Democracy. So surely, if you want to honor this young man, Corporal Cirillo, you would shore up the rights of the people, shore up the rights that the unknown soldier fought for. Well, these are my thoughts on this issue, and as I say, I'm very concerned because the whole world is turning in this direction, and there hasn't been a full and proper discussion with the bill payers, which is the general public, and I think that needs to happen. I think we need to have a dialogue. We need to have open town hall meetings to decide what actions we're going to consider terrorist actions, what persons we are going to consider as radicalized individuals. We cannot have people who are engaged in a peaceful protest, as we were up in Trent Lakes against the recent quarry. Okay, there was a group up there that were being monitored. Now, I don't call that democracy. We're all allowed to have our own voice. All of us. Every single one of us. And to be denied that either by financially penalising somebody or physically shutting them up or making them feel that the subject is so outrageous that they can't even bring it up for fear of some kind of scorn or ridicule or cold shouldering. I mean, this is just not on. Anyway, I really would ask you to think about all of this stuff and be prepared to bring it up with your friends. We need to discuss this because I think we can all see. So there's a bombshell waiting out there. There is a bombshell waiting in infrastructure. The council in this area is virtually bankrupt. I think it is structurally bankrupt. I was told by the chair of the finance committee of the last council to expect 20 to 25% increases in tax burdens because there is nothing there to pay for infrastructure. So we really need to start thinking about getting involved. I am part of the Bob Catron Ratepayers Association that John Snyder and I started up. We've just had our first meeting. The next meeting is in the municipal building, and I will post the date on my website, and we're going to discuss some of these issues and bring them forward about what this actually means for all of us. Okay, thank you very much. Good night.